Welcome to one of our today's baking bonanzas, and we're making sort of biscuits. Now these are actually biscotti. I was going to say you Americans will think of biscuits as cookies, but these aren't cookies or biscuits, these are biscotti, so Italian. And these are going to be some nutty mocha, or mocha, I don't know how you want to say it, Nutty Mocha Biscotti. So for that we're going to need some nuts. So I've got about 90 to 100 grams of pistachios. Okay, I had to buy them again and shell them all. Now while I was at it, I've also got an extra quantity, because that comes as like the finishing touch, but we'll worry about that when near the end. I've also got some pecan halves. Okay, and the first thing we need to do is coarsely chop these. We don't want them too fine. Okay, and then we're obviously going to incorporate them into the biscotti mix. So first off is chopping time. Okay, let me get these out of the way. So like I say, we don't want these too chopped up. We'd like some sort of visible nuts, you know, again, in our biscotti. Okay, you could use almonds if you like. Hazelnuts even, right? So, there you go. That was a bit bigger than that, but it doesn't matter. Right, so that's my pecans roughly chopped, and so now we're going to do the pistachios, and again we don't want to chop them too fine. That little portion I put to one side is to be chopped fine, right? But these are more, like I say, almost with the pistachios you could almost not bother chopping them at all actually, and have them in there whole. You will want a nice sharp knife when it comes to cutting the biscotti. Okay, you're going to have to cut through these nuts. Now I'm going to chuck them in with the almonds, with the pecans, because they're all going to go in the same. So I'm just going to carry on just roughly chopping them. Okay, and then I'll be back to you. Okay, so that's the nuts roughly chopped. Now we're going to sieve our flour into a bowl for mixing. Okay, we'll want the baking powder in there as well. Go in. Then, I didn't tell you actually much of everything I've got over. 260 grams of plain flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now this is about 1.5 teaspoons of cocoa powder. Okay, that's where we get the chocolatey flavour from. Okay, and another little ingredient perhaps wasn't expecting. This is 1 tablespoon of coffee powder. So if you've got granules like I have, you just need to crush them up with a mortar and pestle or a blender, or if you just got coffee powder, use that. Okay, so a tablespoon of that goes in there. Right, so now we're just we're getting there, sifting that through, okay, into the bowl. Just don't want any lumps in it, do we? Now we'll need another bowl in a second, and in that we will be whisking together 2 eggs and some caster sugar. Let me just check. 220 grams of caster sugar. Okay, so got that sieved through into there. A few little lumps. So what actually we do is first off we start by making like a loaf, and then having made the loaf, we part bake it, well almost properly fully bake it, just mixing these together, and then we let it cool a bit, and then we're going to slice it to traditional biscotti look, and then that will go back in the oven again, slightly lower temperature, to basically crisp it off and, you know, dry out so it's a bit more like a biscotti. Right, so that's my dry ingredients done. So I want 2 eggs. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. A bit of showering on that one. Whip that out. Come here. Gotcha. Right, so and then into that, like I say, we're going to put the caster sugar. Okay. And now we're going to, let me get the eggs out of there. We're now going to whisk the two together. So that's going to take a little bit of doing, making sure it's all thoroughly whisked together. Okay. Now, if you've got a mixer, use a mixer. I'm not pretty sure if I have or not, but anyway, I'm doing it by hand. So I'm just going to make sure this is all mixed in together. Okay, and then I'll show you what happens next. Right, so that's me egg and sugar whisked together. Now we're just going to chuck these nuts into the dry mix and just give them a little mix together. And now we're going to add our lovely sugary egg mixture. Okay, get all that out into there, and this should, once we've mixed it all together, form a bit of a sticky dough. So that's that done. And also what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put the oven on to start heating up. Okay, as well as on earlier. If you caught me other lot, we baked some hobnobs, coconut hobnobs. So again, about 180. Okay, sticky on that bowl. So now we're just going to mix all this together. Okay, stir in to get it into, like I say, a bit like a sticky dough. Okay, so that's going to take a little while. So oven's on. I've got a baking tray ready with the silicone baking mat on there. So when I've actually got all this all mixed together, I'll show you what we do next. Right, I think that's pretty much all mixed in now. So what I've just done is I've just lightly floured the surface. I will also make sure my hands are nice and floury, because what we're going to do now is get this out, and we want to knead it as such. We want to get it all together. Because it's very sticky, very dryish dough, you have to watch it when you were mixing it earlier, because you end up finding lumps of flour as such that hadn't been incorporated. So, oops, bits trying to escape. Just trying to get all the bits out of the bowl. Just about done it, I think. So, just gonna make sure it's nicely sort of, in a way, kneaded. Okay, it's not quite the same as making bread. We haven't got to knead it quite to that extent. Okay, and then when we are happy with that, we're going to sort of shape it. And what we want is a nice long, if you like, loaf. This should be about 26 centimetres long. Oh, I've got a scale on here. I'm just going to say, I've no idea. So actually, there you go, that's about that length. Last time I saw something that looked like that, it was a sea slug when we was in Greece, I think. I was snorkeling, looking down, and I thought, bugger me, look at the size of that turd, because it looked exactly like this. And it turned out it started moving, and I thought, whoa, that's not the water moving, that turd. And it was a sea slug, or cucumber, I don't know, one or two. Right, so now I've got it shaped like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put it onto my mat, but what we want to do is flatten it a little bit, alright? So we've got it that length, but we want to flatten it. Try and smooth the sides a little bit. Whoa. Pardon me. So, there we go. Flatten slightly. And what we're now going to do is, as soon as that oven's up temperature, we're going to whack that in, and it'll probably want to cook about 30 minutes. Now, with my oven, I need to keep my eye on it, because it probably won't take 30 minutes. Okay. And then we will take it out, and we'll, well, we're going to need to let it cool before we can do the next bit. Alright, so I'm going to put that in the oven shortly, and I'll catch you about 30 minutes. Right, that's 30 minutes up. So let's just have a little look. Okay, it won't have risen an awful lot. It should obviously browned, and we want it firming up. So there we go. It's a little bit soft still, so I'm going to put that in. I think we'll give that another 5-10 minutes. Okay. Now, when it comes out, it then needs to cool. Okay, we're going to cool it for about an hour. So I've got a wire rack here ready. After that hour, we're going to slice it. We're going to then put it back in the oven. Could be for up to 40 minutes to thoroughly sort of crisp and dry it out. When it's coming to near the end of that, we'll be preparing a little bit of decoration, if you like. So you're going to need some chocolate. Okay, some 200 grams of milk chocolate. And we've got 300 grams. I wonder we'll have to make 50. And then those pistachios that I had earlier, I've chopped them, and these want to be quite fine because they're going to be sprinkled on. Okay, but we can't. It's not worth doing anything with the chocolate just yet until we're ready with that. Okay, so we're going to whip it out. I'll show you what it looks like, even though it's just going to sit here for an hour now. Or when it's out. Okay, turn the oven off. We will want it on again later, but remember we're going to let this cool for an hour. So, out it comes. As you can see, split a little bit, but that doesn't matter. That all adds to the look, if you like. Now, we just want this, like I say, to rest for an hour. Okay, let's see if I'm getting this off of it. There you have your biscotti loaf. So I'm going to give it an hour, cool off, and then we'll get on with the next couple of stages. Okay, so see you in about an hour. I've made myself coffee, just had hobnob. I made hobnobs earlier. There's one that don't fit in a box, I might have to have that one with what's left in my coffee. So anyway, see you in an hour. Okay, so our biscotti loaf has had an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to slice it into thin slices. Now for this you want a serrated knife, okay? take the end off. Okay, and actually this is quite dry, so it probably won't need as long in the oven as we thought. But there you go, that's the kind of texture we're looking for. So now, really wants to be about 1/2 centimetre, but I'll see how we get on with slicing it first. There we go, that worked all right. Now, each one of these slices then needs going onto baking tray, because we will be putting them back into the oven, like I say. So, in all honesty, I don't think it's going to need an awful lot, because the texture is very dry inside. Although, having said that, as we get towards the centre of the loaf, it is now a little bit moist inside, so it will need some doing. But what we'll have to watch is, because it could take up to 40 minutes to dry this. I've got the oven on at about 130. Okay, so it's not particularly hot, but some of these are sort of the ones at the end are drier than others, so they're possibly going to sort of like dry out quicker. So we'll just have to keep monitoring it. So the idea is, it's about, like I say, about 40 minutes in there. After halfway through, about 20 minutes, we flip them over so we get both sides nice and dry. Okay, so that's what I'm going to continue doing for now. There's our tray of biscotti. Once they're dried and they dry all the way through and crisp, we're going to come out and then we're going to let them cool down, and then we're going to do a little bit of decoration. Okay, okay, so the biscotti are out. Okay, you don't quite see it there. We're now going to let them cool, but while that's doing that, this is where we're now going to start preparing the chocolate. So we've got some milk chocolate here, 150 grams. Okay, so break it up, increase the surface area, melt quicker. Right. And I've got a pan of water straight out of the kettle. I'm going to put that onto there, and we're going to melt it in a bowl over some boiling water. Okay, so this is 1.5 bars of this chocolate, I think, like I said earlier. Okay, so all we're going to do right now, get this melted down. When it's melted, and hopefully they'll cool off. Now, they do take a little longer than 40 minutes. I think that's partly because ideally they only want to be 1/2 centimetre thick, and I think some of mine are getting on for 1 centimetre thick. So they obviously took it, being a bit thicker, they took that little bit longer to do. Anyway, this bar of chocolate is broken in half. So, yeah, that bit we'll save for Ron. Yeah, so it's just cooling down now, and what we'll do once all this chocolate is melted, we'll be decorating. Okay, so I'll show you what we do when it's melted. Okay, so the chocolate's melted down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour chocolate just over half. Okay, now we're just going to put the chocolate on, like I say, just one end. Whoops, that sort of made a bit of a mess in the middle there. Okay, so we're not coating the whole thing. And then what we're going to do is take some of them finely chopped pistachios. That one's not quite so finely chopped. Okay, and just sprinkle that onto the still hot chocolate. And we're just going to carry on like that until all the biscotti are decorated the same way. Now, once they've sort of cooled a little bit and the chocolate stopped dripping off, we're going to transfer it into a or onto a tray, and it's going to go in the fridge, and we're just going to chill it for about 30 minutes, okay? And then they will be ready to eat. So, there we are. Not quite finished yet, but we've got a chocolate coating on one end, bit of pistachio, and that's ready for chilling down. So I'm going to coat all the others, transfer them to the tray as they're ready, and then they go in the fridge. And if you're lucky, I might show you when they finish and they come out of the fridge. We'll taste them. Well, I've got to really, haven't I? You know, like it or not. Okay, so there's my little small one. You can see there the biscotti. You can see the nuts in it, and on that end there we got some chocolate sprinkled with some pistachios. So let's try it out. Biscuit's nice and crunchy. And actually, these would be quite nice dipped into your coffee or hot chocolate. The nuts, very nutty. I think you can get a hint of the coffee. A bit difficult to say about chocolate because it had wet chocolate on the end. It's just sort of just eaten. But there you go, Nutty Mocha Biscotti. And I've got plenty more to enjoy.